Welcome to the Scariest Things Podcast, your gateway to the trends and tropes of the horror genre. This is episode 71. Lock your doors. It is home invasion horror. I'm Liz Williams, and I am with
Mike Campbell
and Eric Lee.
Eric, go lock the door.
It's already done.
My doors are locked.
Locked, barred, and alarms are non-existent.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to come in,
set the booby traps, put the alarm on.
we are dead meat.
We are ready.
So Liz, this is
how did you characterize this, Liz? You
I
said
said I could talk about home invasion horror all day.
All
this
right,
is
we'll get to talking.
my wheelhouse. I love home invasion horror, probably because it is a scenario that I am absolutely terrified of happening in real life. So maybe I'm using some of these movies as like preparation for like how would I defend myself.
Oh, absolutely.
But you live with
where are all the exits? I have to know who could come in here. Where are the weak spots of the house? I have to be like, I'm not a gun owner or anything, but how can I defend
you live with a
myself?
strapping young lad.
Well,
Eric lives with a bunch of squirrels.
So I'm like, if they come in, if someone comes in, they got to go to him before they get to me. I can be like out the window, down a ladder first. Like, sorry. So I don't know. I find this genre probably one of the most stressful of all the horror genres.
Yes.
Just by really also calling it home invasion. Now, it doesn't always have to be a home. Maybe it could be a houseboat or a something like that. But you're in a secluded space, confined
precinct.
space. Yeah, you're kind of you're in one. Oh, yeah. You're in one place.
Yep.
That's really where your action takes place, and it's not otherworldly or anything, because to me the scariest thing is other people. So it's not monsters or aliens. It's the people that you're around every day who look normal to you, but they're really not. So.
I think with home invasion you just have to make one big leap of faith early on in the film, and then after that, like once you've made that leap, where you just you suspend a little bit of disbelief and you say, okay, there's people in the house and they're going to be torturing or harassing or haranguing this family or individual for the next hour and a half. Like as soon as you get over that, then it's good. But if you can't get over that piece, it doesn't really make sense, because there are a lot of home invasion films that don't make sense.
No, that's absolutely 100% true.
Yeah.
But it is also the one, I think, and Liz hit the nail on the head here, in that it is personally scary.
Right.
Because you can envision this happening to you.
Sure.
That if you had, to the point where even if it's a burglar, if there is a burglar in your house and the burglar has a gun, scary.
Right. Which is my number one rule. Can you put yourself in the film?
The Mike Campbell rule.
The Mike Campbell.
I've talked about the Eric rules.
That has
always been Mike's.
Can you put yourself in the film?
Yeah, and I think this is the easiest movie subgenre of horror subgenre to do that with.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. Have you ever been subject to a home invasion that you know of?
No.
Someone.
Oh God.
The very first year that I owned my house, somebody pried one of the screens off of my basement window.
Oh.
But they got scared off because it was only half pulled off, and I was like, okay. And so I have since boarded up my basement windows.
Right.
We had someone steal a package off our porch, and I felt like home invaded. I was like, man, someone like came up on our porch and just took a box, like my Amazon package. And I can't imagine
there's
actually
a whole
going through
movie
anything like that.
Package thief horror. Yeah, because I had someone steal a wedding present that I had. I was going to be flying out the next day, and they stole it off my front porch. I was like, motherfucker! If I get my hands on you, and it's like, and I my sister, when they had a home renovation, they had security cameras and all kinds of protections.
What?
And they busted into their garage and stole a whole lot of stuff. And then they broke into the house.
Really, even with all the doodads and technology and everything.
They came in with masks. They turned the cameras around and looted the garage.
All right.
Maybe the next genre of revenge horror will be people who've got their package stolen, like tracking down the thieves.
Oh no, that is totally an action hero moment right there.
All right, so
I'm
here's
trademarking that. Don't take
There
my
you go.
Just kidding.
Liz has put her
That'll be my first feature
fingerprints on
film.
that. Yeah.
packaging related horror. All right,
Yep,
so Liz, what is this is question 2. What is your go-to weapon of choice should home invasion occur? Go. You only get one.
It's a knife.
Knife.
Big old kitchen knife.
Eric,
Yeah.
go. Assuming and you don't have a gun in your house. Not that I know of, so
now,
you
if
can't
you-
say gun.
If you walk into the next room
Yes.
and you look up above,
Lightsabers
yeah.
don't count.
No, it
Lightsabers
is-
are not real.
I have a 19th century kung fu pole axe that weighs about 30 pounds, and it has
Right.
a big old.
Do you think you could actually
1 foot cleaver.
swing that in this house?
I just need to run. It's got a spike at one end, and it's got this is me thinking about what the hell am I going to do.
Yeah.
I also have this is my grandfather's stash of stuff.
Yeah,
I also
yeah.
have an old spear that my uncles called the pig sticker,
Okay.
and it is
that would be good home security defense.
it is
the pig
that-
sticker.
Yeah, I have that, and I have a squirrel rifle that has no ammunition. So
All right, there you go.
That's
got-
just
there you
for
go.
looks.
yeah, no, it's like that's to scare them off. It's like it
Yeah.
it doesn't do it. Yeah, I'm never gonna use that thing. Mike, what have you got?
Ice axe.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ice
yeah.
axe, man. If you see somebody coming down the stairs at you with an ice axe, you would just wet your pants.
Yeah, that's
That's what I'm thinking in my head, at least.
the descent defense.
Yes.
And you would totally
Yeah.
if you had Ernie and Hank upstairs, you would come down with that ice axe. And yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah. It would be all over.
No, this is because
There'd be pants wetting happening immediately.
because I know that who's the
Yours
the author
or
of-
theirs or both.
A little both.
Like
Yeah.
everything.
No, that's
Everybody gets to wet their pants in this scenario.
Yep, that's what I'm thinking.
This is the advantage that you have if you're the protagonist is that if it's truly your house,
Right.
Yeah, if it's your house. Too.
you can booby trap the hell out of it. I happen to have about 30 doors in a
Yeah.
1,500 square foot house. I just
Right.
have too many doors.
And a lot of lightsabers.
Yes, the lightsaber's not going to do much for help, but that Guandao that I have above my mantle.
Just take my lightsabers.
Yeah.
What?
Leave me alone.
All right, so
Yes.
with all of that wonderful preamble, I
Yes.
love that segue, Mike.
That was good preamble.
Mike? Why don't you start us this time?
All right, I'm going to start with a film, and if you listen to episode number 70, you might have heard us talk a little bit about this film. This is a 2016 slasher film directed and edited by a gentleman named Mike Flanagan. This is a film called Hush. And we talked about Hush in the context of the Americans with Disabilities Act because the lead character, played by Katie Siegel, a young woman named Maddie Young, is hearing impaired. She is deaf as a result of meningitis that she encountered in her teens, I believe.
Yep.
And so she is forced in the course of this film to fend off a very strange and very peculiar slasher, stalker,
Yeah.
home invader. The thing I really, really liked about this film is obviously this is, I think you characterized it, Eric, as like a stage play. I mean, you could easily adapt this film to stage. I think super easily.
Yeah, you have 4 characters total.
Super duper easily. Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with the sister because the sister calls in.
Yeah.
And the cat.
Yeah.
There's a cat.
Oh,
too.
the cat's great.
The cat is great. Cat, of course. Well,
Well,
we don't want to
spoiler
spoil
alert.
that. Stephen King. Before I get to Stephen King, before I get to the great William Friedkin, which I will get there in a second. The film basically involves a woman. Maddie, which I don't think we talked about this in episode number 70, but she is a writer. And she has purposefully secluded herself in the woods in a very, very fashionable craftsman type home.
new craftsman.
New craftsman home out in the woods by herself so she can concentrate on her writing. She is working on her newest book, of which she has 7 different endings, and she is sorting through all of the different endings, trying to figure out what the perfect ending to her book is. And a home invader begins to harass, harangue, and intimidate her. The thing that's interesting about this film, and this is one teeny tiny spoiler, and we did touch on this a little bit before, but the film starts with this home invader and this very creepy, condescending smile on the mask.
Yep.
It's the condescension on the mask is the really terrifying piece because it's not a big broad smile. It's the slightest of smiles.
Right. It's a smirk.
It's a smirk. It's a very condescending smirk.
You will see that represented on all the marketing materials.
It's in all the marketing materials. It's in the Netflix trailer. It's on the poster. It's every which aware. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is what I'm gonna be staring at for the next hour and a half. Oh no, it comes off like fast, like
surprising,
like 15 minutes in.
Yep.
I mean, it was as surprising to me as Samuel Jackson getting chomped by the shark in Deep Blue.
Yes, the greatest surprise moments is like, I would not see that because that is not how these movies tend to go.
No, it's like the guy in the mask keeps the mask. He stays with the mask the whole film, but this was not the case. Anyway, he basically harasses, harangues, intimidates Maddie Young, this deaf woman, for the better part of about 60 minutes. And she, of course, as we talked a little bit about in the previous episode, number 70, she, of course, is forced to confront her fears. She's forced to it's basically a fight or flight response.
Yes.
And she knows she can't flee the house, or she tries to flee the house on several occasions unsuccessfully. So she has this great sort of ongoing inner dialogue monologue in her head where she convinces herself that she needs to fight. Stephen King wrote about this in April of 2016, and he said, how good is Hush? It's up there with Halloween and even more Wait Until Dark.
Wow.
White knuckle time. That's what Stephen King said. William Friedkin said, he commented on the film saying, Hush is a great horror film on Netflix. Terrifying.
Terrifying for directors.
Yeah, less of a glowing a glowing recommendation from Mr. Friedkin, but not a recommendation nonetheless. So yeah,
I do think actually, although sort of a little bit of a segue, I think one of the reasons why Stephen King may be standing up for this film is that Flanagan also did Gerald's Game.
Yeah,
and he did that with equal aplomb. Also, very, very few characters, and that sense of isolation, and the sense of there were some. I don't know if you were with me on the frustration of turn around and look.
Right,
you know,
right.
And you have that. There's a number of moments because before she's aware that this is happening and she's not alerted to the situation. She's just going about her business when bad shit's happening around her.
Right.
And
which is also great. It's a great little device.
Yeah, it's a fantastic device. In the same way that I think Wait Until Dark, I think with Audrey Hepburn playing with Home Invaders also. Same kind of a thing. So a really good bridge.
Right.
To those movies.
Yeah. Mike Flanagan is I will say this will be my editorial for the day. He is I think a frustrating director because he's directed Absentia, Oculus, Hush, Before I Wake, the Ouija movie, Gerald's Game, Haunting of Hill House, and he's doing Dr. Sleep. So he's got this weird like kind of
one off, one on, one off, like Star Trek movies.
Yeah, he's like the ultimate hit miss guy. So we'll see what he does with Dr. Sleep because I have great interest in Dr. Sleep, but we will get back to you
again, Stephen King.
I know, at a later date on Dr. Sleep. All right, who are we going to next? Eric, are you
Sure.
up?
I'm going to go with. I think one of the great, no doubt about it, home invasion top shelf ones. This is your next, 2011.
Yeah, you and I watched this together. Yeah,
good choice.
We saw it together. It was really, really intense when we saw it the first time. I just rewatched it again 2 days ago
Less
just to get a
intense?
refresher. No, what it does because
But it's also fun.
It is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I've forgotten some things about some of the twists.
it's a great who done it too.
Right. But the best thing about your next is the script is so ironclad, watertight.
Yeah,
It doesn't. The story never falls apart at the seams. When the reveal comes out, you go, "Oh shit! Yeah, I can see that happening."
Why is she so good with a crossbow?
Yeah, well, but not just that. But there are some moments where you kind of look at there is there's a traitor in the midst.
Right.
And when you watch and you rewatch what the reactions of everybody in the scene and what they're doing, that you understand what the second time through, you go, yeah, totally peg that. Just like you're not you're not behaving right. And Sharni Vinson is a final girl for the ages. And
oh yeah, she's awesome.
I think that they do explain that she grew up in a survivalist camp home kind of a thing, and she's married to the softest, kind of least capable member of this large family that's having a wedding anniversary. So Rob Moran and the great Barbara Crampton played the mom and pop of this bickering group of brothers and sisters. They're wealthy. The father was into he was a defense marketing guy. Sort of like a Blackwater kind of a mercenary type of thing. He made a lot of money, and they're fixing up this huge Tudor-style mansion out in the woods, and then a crossbow bolt comes through the window, picks off one of the family members, and then all hell breaks loose. It is a roller coaster from the get.
Yep.
It pulls out some of the best sort of home defense trap, defend the house scenarios.
Oh yeah,
the kinds of the nails through the boards and the axe at the door, and the bad guys are coming up with all kinds of traps, trapping the outside.
Here's question 3 for you guys.
Okay.
I only have questions tonight. Does the home invasion need to take place in the isolated house in the woods?
Not
It
necessarily,
sure helps.
but it yeah. I've got one that does. I've got.
All.
Yeah, I think.
They're all in the woods.
No, one of them is not in the woods.
Okay.
One of them is definitely not in the woods.
So it's not required.
Would be like new build or old build. It helps if it's like an old house, because then there's all sorts, more doors, more rooms, or you're
right.
checking it out. Especially if you're remodeling it, you're definitely getting home invaded.
There you go.
That was actually with Hush.
Yeah.
It's not. It was a fairly small, compact house.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that.
But it
that
is
was
in the woods.
Yeah, it was definitely in the woods.
And it is isolated.
Yeah, and you have someone who can't call for help, and because she can't talk. But anyways, enough about
All right.
Hush.
Yes.
I think your next is, this is going within the horror genre communities. I would think that this is one that has been widely seen. But sometimes I get surprised by some of our fans who are listening to us as a gateway.
Right.
What's a good gateway home invasion film? Your next is going to be spectacular. It is really violent. I mean, so it's not gateway in the fact that it eases you in relative to the terror. But if you wanted to say, would I like a home invasion movie? It's hard to go wrong with something that's as entertaining and as bloody and as it's like it's got body count. It's got smart villains. It's got smart smart protagonists. And it's got, I think this was the beginning of the Barbara Crampton Renaissance.
That's right.
I love it. I'm here for that.
Yeah, and so she for those of you who also are not Barbara Crampton connoisseurs, she did
get on IMDb.
Get on it.
Yeah, Reanimator, Castle Freak, From Beyond, all those great Stuart Gordon movies. And now she still looks,
she's a knockout.
Aged so gracefully. And
Eric's
she's really nice.
got a horror crush.
Oh, hard not to. Come on, it's Barbara Crampton. Yeah, so that's, anyways, go check out.
And do you know that one of the people who I think was married to one of the girls in the family in the movie is the horror director Ty West.
Yep.
Who
he takes the crossbow bolt.
That's
he's the first one to go.
Yep.
So
and I think he's got like 3 lines in the whole movie. And
Right.
it's like, what's going on out there? And then crossbow bolt.
All right, Liz, what do you got for your number 3?
This is a French film from 2006, and the tagline of this one, like when you pull it up to stream or look at the DVD, said like the film that scared Europe finally comes to America, and this is called Them, or in French it's ILS, which means them. So
you and the French horror.
I could have done all French for this topic.
I actually have another one that I'm sort of waiting to see.
Not pick it.
Man bites dog.
You know the one that I'm thinking about, though.
Yes, there are two, but I know the one you're thinking of, so I'll let you take that one.
Inside.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, that's the one.
High tension.
High tension. Oh, 3 of them. Yeah, high tension would have been another great one. All right, sorry.
All right. Pick
back to
okay. So
let's get back.
This one's called They. This is also based on real events, and they actually follow up with the real events and tell you at the end, like, that this actually is based on real events, not just like inspired by something and then completely taken off the rails. So this is about a couple named Lucas and Clementine. They are French, but they are living in Romania. He is a writer and she is teaching at a French junior high school in Romania. They are living in a big house outside of town that looks like it's under construction.
In the woods.
You know it's not going to go well for Lucas and Clementine. When the film opens, there's a mother and a daughter in a van driving. They're bickering. They're arguing. It's a dark and rainy night, and something jumps out in the middle of the road that causes them to swerve, like hit a pole, gets them off the road. Then they kind of get played with and tortured by whoever got them off the road. So going in that there is someone out in this neighborhood doing bad stuff. When Clementine is driving home from school, she passes the police towing this van away. So now you know that her house is on the way to where the bad shit is going down. So Lucas and Clementine are in their house. Everything's great. She's up late, like grading papers, goes to bed at about 1:30. At 3:45 in the morning, she hears something outside the window and wakes up. So they're like woken up out of sleep. She wakes him up, and it's super late at night, 3:45 in the morning. There is someone in their house. Then it turns out that there are multiple people in their house who start terrorizing them. They actually get out of the house really fast and think that they have locked the invaders in the house. So that is kind of a little bit of a twist on this. Well, but unfortunately, it doesn't go well.
Well, because I know that the trick with the home invasion film is whether the bad guys or antagonists,
who's going to get there?
Do they lay siege?
Or the exactly,
or are they in the? Do they manage to infiltrate the house in advance, like in
these guys weren't in advance, so they weren't like hiding out in the house or anything. Yeah. But also Lucas and Clementine don't do a great job of fighting back.
No.
That's not their fault. They were kind of outnumbered. I'm not victim blaming, but
shame.
I'm not shaming the victims. But I think what made this movie so terrifying, because I'm not going to really tell you anything else, is when you find out who they are,
right?
You're going to be shocked. And there is, so since it's 3:45 when this kicks off, the sun is coming up through the end of this movie. So it ends in broad daylight, and it has like a terrifying final shot.
That's like Texas Chainsaw.
It's like Texas Chainsaw, where it ends like in the morning and the sun's coming up, but it doesn't have a happy ending. The sun did come up, but
those French.
It didn't go well. It didn't go well. So
is it as bloody as because
it is not. It is not very bloody.
Okay.
No, actually not at all. But it has all your home invasions. You got your big house. It's under construction, so they're running through like sheets of tarp coming down. You got like they don't really know. They've just kind of moved in. They don't really know it. They try to call the police, and she has to communicate in Romanian. She does pretty well, but they're not native speakers, so they have that going for against them. So this is set up just to be horrible, and it is actually based on true events. And the kind of as the credits are rolling, they put up, things about the actual events, and it is
wow.
utterly horrifying.
Oh,
But
so how soon do they establish the motivations?
what motivations? Talk about this is
Eric wants to know what the twist is.
The motivation. I can't tell you.
That's
Okay.
huge spoiler.
All right, yeah.
All right,
Yeah, I can't tell
question 4. Question number 4, home invasion question. Does the home invasion have to involve more than one invader, or do you have to have multiple invaders?
No, I think one is enough.
One is enough. Okay.
Oh my gosh, another one. All of mine have multiple invaders.
See, all right. Do all
the
yours
movie
have
that she didn't do was like Inside.
Right.
That's one invader.
That's one invader.
I don't think I'm ever going to go watch that movie. That one was like too much.
I keep seeing them on Shudder.
It is available on Shudder. Yes.
It is available on Shudder, and I keep seeing it and going, oh man, I should totally watch this. And then it's like subtitles, and I'm like, oh god, it's 11 o'clock at night, and I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can stay awake.
I can't do the
Okay,
subtitles.
now based on your recommendation, I am
Definitely
watching.
watch it.
I am
Definitely
watching
watch
it.
it.
Faux
Yeah.
show.
Yes.
All right. My number 2 film is a 1982 film. Eric? What if I said Jack Palance? What if I said Martin Landau? What if I said Donald Pleasance?
It's like you got a Hall of Fame of
What
characters
if I
right
said the crazy guy from the A-Team whose name I can't remember?
now. Face?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
no,
No,
who's,
not Face.
No. I know the white-haired dude.
Yeah. Of course, I am talking about the 1982 American slasher film Alone in the Dark, starring Jack Palance, Donald Pleasance, and Martin Landau, and the crazy guy from the A-Team. Great film. I had never seen this film. I discovered it. It was one of the early production out of New Line Cinema. This was like like right when New Line Cinema was starting. It basically just involves a family under siege, 4 escaped psychiatric prison inmates during a power blackout. So basically, what happens is a guy named Dr. Dan Potter is the replacement at a psychiatric hospital for a guy named Harry Merton, and all of the mental patients at the psychiatric hospital assume that Dr. Dan Potter had killed Dr. Harry Merton, and when the blackout happens, they go to his house to lay siege on his house, and that group involves three patients primarily: a paranoid former POW, Frank Hawks, played by Jack Palance; a pyromaniac preacher, Byron Preacher Sutcliffe, played by Martin Landau; an obese child molester, Ronald Elster; and a homicidal maniac, John the Bleeder Skagg.
The name, by the way, that you're looking for is George Peppard.
George Peppard. No, not George Peppard.
Really?
No, it wasn't George. It was
Mr. T.
No, it was the crazy guy. Anyway, and
Dwight Schultz.
Yeah. The character I haven't even mentioned is Donald Pleasance, who plays one of the other psychiatrists who's constantly trying to talk this trio of killers off the ledge and trying to get them from stopping the killing and stopping the siege on this family. And Donald Pleasance turns in what can only be described as a Donald Pleasance performance, where he takes the normal Donald Pleasance at about an 8 or a 9 and he pushes it up to about an 11, where he plays this kind of like sort of whacked out new age psychiatrist who's trying to convince everybody that everything is cool, but he's got this great simpatico with all the mental patients. It's a really interesting film. It's one of these films that I think when it first came out, it was initially panned. A lot of people, kind of gave it a sort of a C.
I had never heard of this
D
movie,
or a
to
C.
be honest. Liz, do you know about this one?
I only know about this one from Googling home invasion horror.
There you go.
I have never seen it though.
A lot of critics had called it, hokey and silly, but that the whole crazy maniacs on the loose invading the home was very real and very chilling, and it is, and it's actually the last probably half hour of the film is a pretty chilling kind of home invasion because they all lay siege on this house, and it's this guy and his wife and daughter and their visiting his visiting sister are trying to defend off against the home invaders. And one of the actresses, Elizabeth Ward, the wife, I believe, she received the 16th annual Sitges Film Festival award for the best actress for her work in the film in 1982. So there's that.
They had. So for which festival was this?
I think you pronounce it
Sitges.
Sitges.
Okay. Yeah.
I've never heard of the Sitges Film Festival.
Steaks.
Steegs. Steigs, right?
Oh, you're right. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steegs.
Yeah. Steegs.
I think that is in Spain.
Oh, there you go.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she got that award in 1982. No, but Alone in the Dark is actually
For this film?
Yeah, for this film.
Oh.
Alone in the Dark is a pretty solid film. I do recommend it. I mean, just the just see the performances by Martin Landau, Donald Pleasance, and Jack Palance literally all together on the screen at the same time is kind of something in and of itself.
Now, the thing that you should make sure of not doing is going to see the Alone in the Dark 2005 movie, which is based on a video game.
Right.
Oh,
That's a Lovecraftian video game. Bad, Christian Slater sort of slumming through his hard times doing bad video game movies.
When you go to the video store, make sure you're picking the right
1982.
one off the shelf.
Go back to the 80s.
1982. All right, Eric, what do you got for your number 2?
So this one was a real hard watch for me, but it was because it is very, very close to home. This is Knock Knock. 2015.
I had this as my alternate pick.
So this is
but how is this close to home? Are you going to explain
Personally,
this?
He's an architect.
Okay. Well, not just he's an architect. So he's
the squirrels.
Yeah. Well, he's an architect, and he had a French bulldog named Monkey.
What?
Yep.
And
What?
For those listeners, I had a French bulldog who I adored named Mookie, who passed away last month, and it was really hard.
Yes.
So, at first I was like, oh, they've got a French bulldog named Monkey, and he's beautiful, and oh God, they better not hurt that dog. So, but this is Keanu sort of fairly recently, so he's sort of in the middle of his John Wick kind of mode.
What year is this film?
2015.
Okay.
It's the Eli Roth film.
Eli Roth film.
Right.
It is, and this is, it is a home invasion by bad decisions.
Yeah.
Because, so
sexy home invasion.
Sexy
though.
home invasion.
Oh,
Yes.
that's the best kind of home invasion.
Yeah, well,
Sexy home invasion.
so
It's either the best kind or the worst kind. I don't know.
or both. Yeah, it's be careful what you ask for.
Yep.
So Keanu Reeves plays Evan, who's an architect in a wealthy community. His wife is an artist, a sculptor who's become very successful. So they've had this. They live in this fabulous modern home. Mm-hmm. And his
you got to
wife,
have a good house for a home invasion.
Oh, absolutely! This is a great house for a home invasion.
Yeah, it's a great house.
And just loaded with artwork and huge portraits of him and his family, his 2 kids. They open the scene with it's Father's Day and the kids. Everybody's. It's like you realize what a great family they have. And the mom and the 2 kids go out to the coast, but he has to stay back home and do architecture work. And it's architecture work because there's a model of the building and he spins around in circles. He's not actually doing anything, but it looks like you can tell it's archecture.
And he's also got to guard his lightsaber collection.
Yes. Oh, too close to home. Well, here's one for you. This because he actually has a massive LP collection.
Oh, okay.
He used to be a DJ also.
Of course he did.
Anyways,
Yes.
so the wife and kids go off to the beach, and it's 1 a.m. On that Friday night, and there's a knock at the door, knock knock, and there's 2 very attractive young women in the pouring rain, saying, "Hey, the
Wait,
cab
is this a
driver-"
remake?
No,
Are you sure?
No, I don't.
I don't think so. I don't
Okay.
think
it
to
is.
best of my knowledge, this is
Okay.
an original film. But they said, well, we're looking for a party, but they can't find the house. We're thinking of the wrong address, and so they said, can we use your phone? He goes, yeah, why don't you come in? And they sort of make themselves at home, and so but it was a bad decision number one, letting them in the house.
Letting them in the house.
And then they get, they start, flirting with him, and then they seduce him, and then they have sex with him, and all this time he's like, oh, I'm a happily married man, I have these great kids, and then they go, oh, this is a great record collection, oh, these things are so beautiful, and this kind of stuff, and it's like, can we dry our clothes? Okay, so he throws the clothes in the clothes dryer, gives them robes, and then they go into the bathroom, and then he goes, hey, they called for an Uber.
It is a remake.
It is a remake?
It's a
Oh, is
remake
it?
of the 1977 film Death Game.
Okay.
Yes.
But
I knew it, which stars Sandra Locke.
okay.
Yeah, of Clint Eastwood fame.
Okay.
Sorry for the interruption.
So there we go.
I knew it. As soon as you were describing that, I was like, wait a second. That
this
is a remake.
But the thing that gets a little bit disarming. Well, to continue the story of what happens is they, when he wakes up in the morning, he's suffering from some guilt for having just this sexy escapades with these two young
otherwise known as sex.
And he thinks that they are probably underage. There is also that.
Ooh.
Yeah. And so
Whoops.
when he wakes up,
Or 17 or 18, it's not,
they look
not old.
like they're late teens, like they're barely legal or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And they've decided to make pancakes, and they just wreck the kitchen.
Yeah.
And he's like, what are you guys doing? It's like, we made you breakfast. He goes, I don't need breakfast. I thought you guys need to go. And they go, we like it here. And then they sort of infiltrate the home, and then they start blackmailing him. And then they start just going full vandal mode. And he is stricken because he just doesn't know whether he can, because if he...
But they're not like physically harming him.
Not yet.
Not yet.
So the flirtation turns into seduction. Seduction turns into sex. Sex turns into regret. Regret turns into blackmail. Turns into torture. Turns into just it is.
But it was free pizza, Eric.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Free
I love
pizza.
that analogy. He called it free pizza. What was I supposed to do? And they have no moral conscience. I think the drawback to this movie is you get no clear definition as to what their motivation are. They're they're chaotic. They're like,
well, that's kind of the same with like Hush. Is like you never get a clear indication of what the
no motivation.
No.
Right.
They're kind of like if you're a succubus made flesh. Like they're impish demons come to prey upon your weeknesses and exploit them, and then they just start wrecking the art in the house.
Right.
And he can't get rid of them because they said we're underage, and if you call the cops, we're going to say I've got your DNA inside of me, and then I'm going to send this to your wife, and you expect that this is Keanu Reeves, right? It's like, come on, do your Neo thing, do your John Wick thing, but he is so weak, and it was like, oh God. This is the art. It's like it's like if I get a knock on the door and you get two beautiful soaking wet women, it's like go away.
Don't let them in.
It's like there's something wrong here.
Leave me alone.
The max is 1 block away. You can hop on it and go anywhere you want, and no one's going to stop you.
Let me call you an Uber.
Yeah. So it's the cautionary tale. It has this weird, ambiguous ending.
Yeah.
That is like I'm not sure exactly. Well, you know what kind of it doesn't give you answers. It is again. It was hard for me to watch because I could see. It's like, oh God, oh there, but by the grace of God, like sexy, dripping wet women coming to the door of an architect. The moral of
the story: there is no such thing as free pizza.
That's right.
There is no such thing as free pizza.
All right, Liz, what do you got for your number one?
This one.
Number one.
Is it my number one?
Is it your number one?
I just
No,
did
it's my number two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you started, Mike. So
My number
I
two.
started. Gotcha. All right.
Okay.
Stay with
I'm
me.
going to
I'm with
bring
you.
it down into not funny at all.
Uh-oh.
This is kind of like, to me, one of the like kings of home invasion movies. And this is 1997 Funny Games, directed by Michael Haneke.
Yeah.
This was remade in probably the 2000s. Skip
Yep.
the remake. Just read the German subtitles.
Right.
There's no reason to remake this movie. Okay, so this movie is about a family that goes on vacation at their Austrian lake house.
In the woods, secluded.
In the woods by a lake.
Yeah, my last one was not in the woods, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
but
that
it still
was-
was in like an exclusive kind of like gated community.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they didn't have like neighbors like right there.
No, they had plenty of acreage around just so that they
Yeah.
could do their torment and
Right.
horrible things
Right.
in private.
So this one too, they're not completely secluded because the family's pulling up to their lake house and they see their neighbor, and he's got these like two kind of like 20-something guys with him that he says are his friends named Peter and Paul. They've never seen him before, but they're like, okay, whatever. So they pull into their lake house and they're unpacking, getting ready, and Peter and Paul come over to see if they can like borrow some eggs. Oh, sure. Come in. We just got our groceries and are stocking up our house for our vacation. And one of them starts just like dropping the eggs. Oh, trying to pretend he's being clumsy. They accidentally knock into their phone. So that's gone. And then they're not leaving, and they're getting more and more weird and more like they're kind of messing up their kitchen. And so now these people know, oh my, like, this isn't good. I don't think they were actually friends with our neighbor. I don't know what happened to our neighbor. Then one of them pulls out a golf club from the husband's golf bag, whacks the husband in the kneecap, and that kicks it off.
Yep.
So
Ouch.
this one is so violent. When you say motivation, there is no motivation.
Yeah.
And Michael Haneke has talked about like making this film. He said there is no point. He just wanted violence, and he makes the audience implicit in the violence, especially because he has Peter and Paul break the fourth wall and talk to the audience. And when they do it for the first time, you're like, oh my gosh, like what just happened? So now you're really a part of this, watching them torture this family. And they say to the family, like, okay, if you can make it to like 8:00 in the morning, then we're going to let you go. So now there's even more stakes than, there's a time limit. So that even sets the stress even longer. So, like, okay, I just got to get through the night. And at different points, some of them get out of the house. They have, a young child who they're trying to protect. There's always the threat of like, what are they going to do to the wife? So that makes everybody very uncomfortable. So this one is like one of the granddaddies of all the home invasion movies, because there is no motivation, there is no point, and no one here gets out alive.
It's just
it's
nihilism.
It's so
it's
brutal.
Not a spoiler. It's an Austrian home invasion film.
You know what's crazy though is Michael Haneke he directed the 2007 version with Naomi Watts and Tim Roth, right?
Oh, did he?
Yeah, so he just basically went straight back and redid it again, but with they're neither of them are American actors, but Western actors. I guess not Western, but
I don't really know why.
English-speaking actors. Yeah, it's not super clear why, other than the fact that the previous version was subtitled and in Austrian.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Because
I don't know why. I don't love it. It's a horrible movie. It's not an easy watch. It's also very long. I think it's about 2 hours. So,
but yeah, both
like gut wrenching.
Both are really long, really hard watches. I did really like. I have seen both, and I really like the Tim Roth character in the second one. I thought he was really, really good, because Tim Roth is obviously. He's got some range.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sure does.
So, it's an Austrian horror movie, and the ones that I'm familiar with from Austria: Goodnight, Mommy, Cold Hell. I'm not going to include Blood Glacier because it's a monster movie. But there is a a real distance that between like the separation. There's like this wall of almost indifference that you have to or there's that weird kind of an alienating feel from those Austrian horror movies.
There's a coldness.
Yes,
they're very cold. Yeah, they're very cold.
Where,
this
like,
one is absolutely no exception to that.
Like the French ones seem to be they drag you in. You can associate with the protagonist a little more. Like Goodnight Mommy was one of those ones where it was just like...
Well, and that's also like a super, super slow burn. Like this one isn't. This one starts off and just like takes off, like 0 to 60.
Oh, yeah.
But
it just
still,
tortures you the
draws
whole
it out.
time.
It draws it out. Goodnight Mommy also, like, it draws it out. And neither of those films are also... They're super, super violent, but not bloody in the way that the French ones are.
Right.
Or a lot of the French ones, not the one I just talked about, but like Martyrs or Inside or High Tension. Those are just blood soaked and manic. These ones are very cold, very calculated,
and
more of a slow burn kind
and
of
based on
feeling.
a true story, right?
I don't know if this one said based on a true story, but
we will get to Austrian horror at a later date.
I don't know.
We could do one.
We'd run to the
Probably
bottom
could
of the
do
barrel
one.
after about 6 or 7 films, though.
I think you'd be surprised.
Okay.
I think you'd be very surprised. All right. My number one film is a film called La Casa Sperduta nel Parco, also known as The House on the Edge of the Park. This is a 1980 Italian exploitation horror film directed by somebody named Ruggero Deodato, who did a little film called Cannibal Holocaust, and it stars David Hess, who obviously had a very successful music career, but he also was in a film called Last House on the Left from 1972. Allegedly, this film is a loose remake of the 1972 film Last House on the Left.
Another great home invasion film.
Another great home invasion film. Last House on the Left is loosely based on the Swedish film Virgin Spring by Ingmar Bergman, which is loosely based on a Swedish ballad. Didn't know if you knew that.
I thought you were going to break out Shakespeare.
But
Or-
Ingmar Bergman, direct lineage to not even 5 degrees of separation from Cannibal Holocaust, like
Oh, no.
Yeah.
2 degrees of separation from Cannibal
2
Holocaust.
degrees too close.
This, I'm going to call this is not home invasion as much as it's like dumb luck home invasion. This is not like, all right, we're going to lay siege on this family because we know they're alone at their lake cabin. Oh no, this is not that at all. This basically involves Alex, who's played by David Hess, who is a serial killer living in New York City in the late 70s, early 80s. And he and his buddy Ricky are closing up their garage. They run a garage in New York.
Oh, what do we say about mechanics?
I know. Don't trust mechanics. They're closing up the garage before they can both head out to go to the local discotheque, because that's what you did in New York in 1980. But before they can leave, a Cadillac pulls up with a very well-dressed couple, Tom and his girlfriend Lisa, and they were asking for help with their vehicle, getting their vehicle fixed.
This sounds like a Silence of the Lambs trap.
Right. And Alex says, no. Alex, the serial killer, says, no, we don't want to help you. We're going to the discotheque. We're not interested in helping you snooty rich people. We're going disco dancing. But his buddy Ricky says, sure, I'll help you out. While Ricky is helping them out, Alex goes back to his locker at the garage. And he rifles through his locker and finds various weapons that he uses to murder people, including a straight razor. And he quickly pockets the straight razor and then says, then they come back, they help the couple. The couple says, hey, thank you so much for helping us fix our Cadillac. Would you like to go to a party? Now, this is the interesting sociological twist here, because it's like, the rich people in this case are saying to these, sort of these like dumb, mechanics who are more interested in disco than anything else, hey, why don't you come to this party and we're going to invite you to this party to effectively make fun of you. They go to the party and David Hess, Alex, the serial killer, he quickly realizes they're being made fun of. But his buddy Ricky, who's kind of this dumb disco mechanic, doesn't realize, he doesn't catch on
And he wanted to go to a party.
that he's being made fun of.
Okay.
But the people, this group of rich people are like, no, come on, you should party with us, and you should dance with us because we want to see your disco dance moves. All the while, they're completely making fun of Alex.
So these people are going to deserve what they get.
It's kind of it kind of gets down to that. It kind of gets down to where they deserve what they can get. It's an interesting kind of classism twist on home invasion because that's not normally what you see.
Nope.
Normally, it's kind of the other way around. But then you kind of get into this other sort of interesting dynamic, which is the discotheque mechanics and the wealthy rich people are equally deplorable, and then you have difficulty trying to decide, like, who am I rooting for here in this film? Like,
well, this is a home invasion where they brought the invaders into the
they brought the invaders.
Yes,
it's dumb. It is dumb luck home invasion. They brought them into, and so really the whole film evolves like a home invasion film where Ricky and Alex have basically kept the whole crew, this whole group of rich people, as captives throughout the course of the film, and it's these people trying to deal with Ricky and Alex, and trying to figure out what it is they ultimately want.
Right.
Well, they want sex, they want chaos,
They want disco.
and they want disco. Sex,
And
chaos,
disco.
disco.
So let's dance.
In that order. Yeah. The thing that I will say about this that is very, very weird is the treatment of sex is very strange in this film because invariably most of the sexual relations that take place in the course of the film, and there are aplenty, basically involve rape, or at the very least non-consensual sex, which is tantamount to rape.
Right.
But they play very loving, kind of kind, sweet music while it's happening.
That makes it all better, doesn't it?
Which is really strange and really kind of off-putting. And I don't know if I'm looking at it from
That's what they kind of do on Last House on the Left, like at the beginning when they're
Yes,
torturing those two girls. It's like
There
this
you go.
idyllic,
Exactly.
like flute music.
Exactly. So anyway, it's an interesting film. Dread Central. Dread Central talked a lot about this film, and in fact, Dread Central was so excited about this film, they reportedly teamed up with a UK production company, North Bank Entertainment, in 2011, and with director Ruggero Deodato to look at or explore a House on the Edge of the Park 2. A direct sequel to the original film. That was 2011. We haven't seen it yet, so who knows if we will ever see it again.
Well,
but
a question for you,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
What happened to Italian horror since the Giallo glory years? Why haven't we been getting a role of where the French and the Spanish
That's true.
have really sort of grabbed the reins of Euro horror? And the Italians, apart from if you count the Suspiria remake, which is
No,
not
I
really.
I don't count that.
Why hasn't it fallen off the pace?
They're getting smarter and we're getting dumber.
Well, a lot of their like TV stuff that I've seen focuses a lot on like crime and cops and stuff like that. So maybe they just went the cop way instead of the.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
It just
Well,
sort of
because
went
Giallo always has an investigation and has to have some kind of like
Right.
reporter or police officer. So
Right.
maybe they
Yep.
just went like, let's just go complete police.
because Argento's still alive.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah. And
but-
bagging on the
That's a
remake
good
of...
question, Eric.
He's still alive
we
and
should do
bagging
some
on the remake of
research.
Suspiria. Yeah. We'll get back to you on that question.
Yeah.
Check back with the scariest things.
Because anytime that you bring up the great Italian films, it's all the 70s and 80s, and then
Right.
Yeah.
by the time the 90s hit, it
I
was
don't know
almost
what's
kind of
going on
like
in LA.
it's a
Although
paleontological strata. Then all of a sudden it stopped for some strange reason.
Although Argento did do a lot of stuff in the 90s.
It-
Yeah, but it's
early
not
mid-
really good.
Well, yeah. Yes. All right.
So-
Eric.
Well, Liz had mentioned that she had one of the grandfather movies of the home invasion subgenre. I will go back and say I think I have one of the definitive grandfather ones, and this is 1971 Sam Peckinpah classic Straw Dogs.
Don't mess with Sam Peckinpah.
That's a break too far for Liz, so I'll just
This
do a recap.
and as a cautionary note, this has one of the roughest rape scenes you will ever run into on an emotional level. I think on a graphic level, it's the way it gets played out. It's long and drawn out, and it's a pivotal moment in the movie. But this is a Dustin Hoffman movie, so a fairly young Dustin Hoffman. When was The Graduate? Was 1968? Was The Graduate something like that?
I think so. Yeah.
So a few years after The Graduate. And also features Susan George as his wife, Amy. So Dustin plays David. And then there's a bunch of British actors who play. They're moving to Cornwall. David and Amy have moved to Cornwall. David is an astrophysicist,
right.
And he is looking to get away from the city and a place where he can relax and think. And his wife, Amy, is from Cornwall, and where she was the great beauty of the village. A lot of the men who remember her are a bunch of louts and ruffians, and they all still have a hot thing for her. Yeah, and they're drunks. It doesn't really paint the English villagers in a very favorable light, But Dustin Hoffman is.
I've been to Cornwall. It's perfectly pleasant.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. I didn't even know this was set in England.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, only knowing the bare bones of the plot, I just assumed this was American.
Nope. No. And he's David. The Dustin Hoffman character he's cold. He is.
Oh yeah.
I will say about this movie is that there are. Like The Wild Bunch, one of Sam Peckinpah's other great movies, there aren't many likable characters here. They're all shades of gray.
Yep.
The protagonists and the antagonists, they get the relationship between Hoffman and George is it's dicey that he wants quiet. She kind of is chasing the cat around the house. It's like, hey, have you seen the cat? It's like, I don't know where the cat is. Don't talk to me about the cat.
Right.
And so there's these kinds of little marital wrinkles that they moved because they were also trying to make their marriage happier. It isn't working.
Right.
And at the same time, one of her old flames has come back, and they're doing repairs on this garage, and they're not working on the garage at all. They're just sort of sitting there drinking and not helping much, and at one moment, one of the old flames comes back. They convince Dustin Hoffman to go out on a partridge hunt. In the meanwhile, they descend upon the house.
Right.
And he tries to woo back the Susan George character.
Right. It
turns into a rape.
Right.
And then other guys get involved. And it's just like it's horrifying, and meanwhile Dustin Hoffman's out there waiting, trying to shoot partridges out in the middle of nowhere, and he's left alone. He came back. She doesn't tell him that what happened, and it just the Peckinpah has it's like it's as tense as a crossbow, right? You're just waiting for something to happen. There are a lot of things that get set up.
It's as tense as the Osterman weekend.
Yeah, crossbows.
Yeah.
But there's, the Peckinpah sets up, like, there's a bear trap. The bear trap's going to come into play.
Yep.
A bunch of shotguns. And it's this remote village on a hill.
There's a cat.
Yeah. There's a cat.
A house being remodeled, remote village, prime for an invasion.
And a bunch of drunken ruffians. Yep. Eventually, there's a situation where they finally crack. He fires the whole bunch of them because it's like, you're not doing any work. Plus, you're staring at my wife. I don't like this. She hasn't confessed that she actually got raped.
Right.
But there's clearly stuff that's gone wrong. And then something happens in the village they turn on the house, and the last 40 minutes of the thing is a master class in home invasion.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They're breaking windows, they're trying to get in, they're and
The whole town?
the guys who work in the house.
Okay.
The hooligans.
And plus the patriarch of that group, who is the
Oh,
biggest,
okay.
drunkest amongst them, who you meet very early in the film. But when they try and break in, and Dustin Hoffman says, "I can fend them off," Susan George says, "Let's surrender. We give them what they want. Let's just get out of here." And he goes, "No, this is my house. I'm going to protect it." And it is mayhem, and
Yeah.
it is really intense, and it's really uncomfortable. And
1971 was a crazy year for film if you think about it, because you had another sort of home invasion adjacent film, Clockwork Orange, came out. French Connection.
Oh, I was
Yes.
thinking
French
about
Connection
that one
came
too.
out, and
Yeah.
Dirty Harry came out, and Straw Dogs came out. So it's like all these films, like you were asking a hell of a lot. I mean, it was kind of a watershed moment for violence in film
Yeah.
in 1971, because you were asking a hell of a lot from the audience to digest all this stuff.
If you go into the way back when we started talking about the PG horror movies,
Right.
And then when it broke, this
Right.
is like 68, or was it 68 or 69 was when rated R became available.
X.
Yeah, and X. And I think I wouldn't have been surprised. Actually, I didn't check. This might have been an X-rated movie.
Yeah.
Certainly the Wild Bunch was.
Mm-hmm.
And
The Wild Bunch was not X.
yes,
What?
look it up. Wild Bunch was X.
All right.
Initially, it's not now.
Sure. Now it's PG. G maybe.
No, this is Sam Peckinpah, king of the squibs. I mean, there's like the shotgun blasts really take big chunks out of these dudes. Spoiler alert.
Yes.
But it is.
Does Dustin Hoffman ever find out what they did to his wife?
I think you need to watch. Well,
Yeah,
you're not gonna
Okay,
watch
I'm
it.
not going to watch
You're not
it.
gonna watch
You
it.
can tell me later. Don't
she-
spoil it on the podcast.
Yeah, don't spoil it on the podcast. We'll get back to you on that. Yes.
I think what you end up figuring out, or what he begins to figure out, is that one of the workers on the house had a relationship with his wife.
Okay.
And when there's a big fight that they have in the house, and when she calls for help, she doesn't call for David's help. She calls for Charlie, her old flame.
Uh-oh.
And that was like, no, that's, there's something. All of a sudden, the gig kind of is up, which makes that the rape scene in the middle of the movie was weird, because it was an old flame making up, or trying, and she goes, no, I can't, but she still likes him, and then another guy shows up, and then it's like, oh no, and that what make it's exceedingly uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I'll leave it at that. This is a if you've got the stomach for these kinds of things, it's exceptionally well made.
Yep.
But it has no likable characters.
Right. All right, Liz, what do you got for your number one?
Okay, I don't think this is going to be a surprise, because this was number 2 on my top 25 list. And this is 2008's The Strangers, directed by Brian Bertino, starring Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman. I love this movie. This has everything I want in a nice little package. I think it's about an hour and 40 minutes. And it's perfect home invasion.
And
so Liv Tyler.
It is in the
It
woods.
is in
the woods.
a house in the woods. Yep. Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman play Kristen and James. They're a couple who have just come from a friend of theirs' weddings, and they're staying at a family vacation house. And when they come into the house after this wedding, they do not look happy. Turns out,
and they're a little
Kristen
tipsy too.
Yeah, and a little tipsy. Kristen has just turned down James's proposal of marriage, so this is awkward. Yeah, they were at a wedding, they got a couple drinks, they have this weekend planned, and now it's going to be awkward because they not getting married. So they get home, and it's the tensions are already high in the house. He goes out to get her cigarettes, and while he is out, she starts they make a fire in the fireplace, and she discovers that the chimney thing had been shut, and so she's fanning the smoke detector, and trying to do that, to turn the alarm off, and finally solves that. She's kind of puttering on their house. She changes out of her like fancy dress into, casual clothes. And when she comes back in the room, she sees that the smoke detector is like no longer attached. Okay, so that's weird. She's like, well, maybe I, didn't do it when I was kind of trying to whack it off the ceiling, as you do when you're trying to just turn it off.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, I've figured everybody, has been there. So he comes back. They're still awkward. So he's like, I'm going to call my buddy to come pick me up. And she's like, no, you can stay. And, he's like, no, this is weird. I'm going to call my buddy to come pick me up. So her mind is kind of taken off the smoke detector thing because of this uncomfortable situation. And then there's a knock at the door, and it's this like girl's voice, and she just says like, is Tamara home? And they're like, oh no, you've got the wrong house. And okay, and they had this real monotone, creepy voice.
I think one of the lessons we have learned from these movies is don't ever answer your door.
Don't ever answer the door.
Not unless someone texts you and says, I'm here.
I'm at your door.
Don't open the door. It's just nothing good can happen. Or by now,
if you haven't installed security cameras in your house during this podcast,
get on it.
At least get one of those doorbells with the thing on it. So they're like, okay, that's weird. The girl goes away, but then she comes back, and they're like, no, you already came to this house. Tamara's not home. Then through the side of the window, we see this tall, creepy dude in this like weird brown suit with a bag over, like a burlap sack over his head, and you can see his eyes and like a weird smile.
He kind of looks like the unknown comedian a little.
He does.
Can he stick his tongue out one of the eye holes?
Just a little.
And he does this creepy head tilt. So now there are people like stalking around their house.
Creepy head tilt is critical.
It is critical. And so there's not just him. There's also 2 other people who are wearing these creepy masks, and home invasioning ensues. So
now this is prototype home invasion. The Strangers is one of the ones, like, I think if you look up
it's probably going to be at the top of in the top 5.
Right.
For sure.
Also based on a true story.
What?
Inspired by true events.
It's like Texas Chainsaws.
I saw somebody in my house.
It said that, there's someone's house got broken into. No, they said it was like inspired by pieces of the Manson murders, pieces of another murder, and then the director in his hometown, there had been like a series of like weird burglaries. So when you say inspired by true events, you can really dilute that. So this one's great. There's like a super tense scene when the buddy who's supposed to give Scott Speedman a ride home shows up to the house.
Yeah.
There's them trying to get to the car that's in the driveway. So you always know in a horror movie, either you're going to get in the car and it's going to, like, the keys are going to just magically be there, folded up into the visor.
In this case, the driveway is like a quarter-mile long.
Yes, the driveway is very long. It's one of those like gravel driveways. There's a barn, so you got that. When you have multiple buildings, that's even more places to hide if you can get out. So I love The Strangers.
Have you seen The Strangers 2?
I have. Well,
and
it's not on the list.
That's very telling.
Great. It's not great.
Very telling.
Also, The Strangers ends in the morning, just like the French one, them, and just like Funny Games.
It does.
These are all ones where you have to, you got to make it through the night.
Yep. And there's a second. There's a second line too at the end, wasn't there? Don't they say a second line at the end?
They do.
I can't remember what it is now.
I don't even remember what it is, but they do, and it's like the one that they call it like doll face because it's wearing a mask that looks like a kind of Betty Boop doll face.
Right. All right.
Super creepy. I really like it, and
I think Strangers is pretty solid.
Yeah, it's solid. It's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah,
it gives me everything I want in a home invasion horror film.
I believe it made our top 100 list, didn't it?
I think
we'll have to go back and check.
Somewhere in the 80s,
I
think.
Yeah.
Well, I'll get back to you on that one. All right, let's get to very, very quickly, since we're running a little long tonight, let's get to some very quick grave digging.
All right.
Eric.
So, the simple grave digging thing. This is just to alert you guys that September and October really starts talking. The superhero movies are out of the Cineplex now, and it's getting replaced with horror movies.
Yeah.
So we're getting new movies coming out, and you can see some of the trailers that we've got on our site. The Lighthouse, Robert Eggers' new black and white. Sort of Lovecraftian 19th century lighthouse keepers and octopus squiddy things and madness coming out in September. The Hunt, which is Betty Gilpin of Glow, and she is now. I think she's applying her wrestling moves to essentially what is the most dangerous game, which is one of those classic old tropes of the most dangerous prey are humans, and we're going to hunt humans and put them in a ranch, and then we're going to stalk them, and then of course one of the characters is probably going to get the gumption up and turn the tables on the hunters, right? So that's The Hunt coming up. Ready or Not, Samara Weaving, who is fast carving herself a role as a contemporary scream queen, is coming out in later this month, which is hide and go seek in a mansion. Looks pretty funny. Campbell not so interested in that one, but I know that there's a bunch of us who are going, this looks like my cup of tea. It's the gang who couldn't shoot straight trying to hunt down a bride on her wedding day playing hide and go seek in a mansion.
Yeah.
And then of course It.
Yeah.
Is
It
coming
part 2.
It part chapter 2.
Chapter 2.
With Jessica Chastain, James McAvoy, and a whole bunch of new adult characters. Looking forward to that. And Doctor Sleep.
Yeah. When's Doctor Sleep come out?
Okay, I'm going to IMDb that right now. Why don't you go ahead and you can kick off your grave digging. And
My grave digging is, I honestly had not heard of this film. This is a film, and the only reason I heard about it was because of Lupita Nyong'o. This is a 2019 film coming out called Little Monsters. It's an Australian-American-British horror comedy film involving a woman who is in Lupita Nyong'o and her cohort are in charge of a group of kindergartners.
Yeah.
And they go to a sort of rural farm in the middle of a zombie outbreak, and she is trying to both fight off the zombies and explain to the children that nothing is going wrong and that everything is fine.
That was something that was playing at Fantasia Fest in Montreal, and we had asked for screeners and they didn't have them.
Yeah, I think it got its release. Its release in like January of 2019, but it has not gotten a full like theatrical release yet. But it looks really great. Lupita Nyong'o, fresh off of Us, one of my favorite movies of the year,
and a home invasion movie,
which we didn't even talk about. It looks really good. It looks really, really good. It looks very, very funny. It looks very, very gory, and it's an interesting juxtaposition of having to try to both fight off the zombies and explain to the children that absolutely nothing is wrong.
Keeping zombie movies fresh. It's hard. We've almost run through all the possibilities for zombie movies, but this one it's a nice twist. And plus, Lupita Nyong'o is a hell of an actress.
Yep.
All right. You got anything for grave digging?
You know what? I will just say what we were just talking about in our home invasion when you mentioned Inside. Add that to your list, people. That is a great French home invasion film. It is bloody. It is crazy. It is about a pregnant girl who is in a isolated house in the middle of the woods during
and a woman who wants her baby.
And a woman who wants that baby. So I would recommend that one. Definitely high tension. And I don't classify it as a home invasion movie, but since it is my favorite horror movie, Martyrs does come up on a lot of home invasion lists because they do go into a home, but there's no one home. So is it a home invasion movie?
A home invasion
when you get there and they show up later?
Residents.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. So add those to your list. The new French Extreme keeps getting better.
Dr. Sleep's coming out November 8th.
All right.
Oh, wow.
All
We're going to have
All
like
right.
a busy
Are you taking
fall.
us out of here?
So I will take. I've got sort of a 1-2 combination here.
All right.
And they're both
Do it.
like so. The tagline from Your Next is "Don't bother locking the doors. Animals don't use doors." So the
Not bad.
The villains are wearing masks, and the one from Knock Knock is "Some doors shouldn't be opened."
There you
Take
go.
that to the bank.
Free pizza.